Hi friends, my name is Jake. Welcome to Canadian Cutting Edge. This is the Kubey Darkness. Let me cover up my face here again so you can see that. It's got a bead blast finish, G10 handle scales, flipper. Also has that hole there so you can flick it from underneath. The most odd thing about the Darkness is they don't sell it with black G10 and a black blade. I think a nice deep dark black stonewash and black G10, that would suit the name, wouldn't it? Called Darkness. It comes in two different model numbers because one's a D2 version and one is an AUS 10 version. Not bad prices at White Mountain Knives, but I found them if this gets posted in time, and I did post it to the YouTube community page and to my Patreon supporters. This guy's on sale. Both steel versions for $24.50 US, with free shipping to USA and the European Union countries. That's not bad at all for this knife. That's like 40% off of what it costs at White Mountain Knives. You can save 10% at White Mountain Knives in case that other sale is over by using coupon code CCE at White Mountain Knives, and maybe you might want to get one of these. If you want to wait and see what this thing's all about, I'm going to tell you and show you. Just stick around. The full review is coming very soon. But first, I want to tell you something. If you've been with my channel for a while, you know that I have advertising on my videos. I've got an advertisement before the video starts, and if you watch all the way through, there's an advertisement when it ends, and there's one advertisement break in between. On most of my videos, some videos don't have any break in between. I used to use an ad blocker. I haven't for about 5 or 6, probably 7 years, but I used to use an ad blocker on YouTube and other places so I wouldn't have to watch ads. They are a pain in the butt, aren't they? Who wants to watch advertising? You want to watch the video that you've clicked to watch. And then I realized there's small YouTubers like Jake who need income to cover the expenses of making videos. Sure, it's free to upload a video, but it's far from free to make a video, especially when you've got to buy the knives, you got to buy the camera, the microphone, the lights, all kinds of stuff. I use tools and equipment to measure things on knives. There's a lot of expenses to making a YouTube channel function. And so I encourage you, if you hate YouTube advertisements, please subscribe to YouTube Premium. It costs what, $17.99 a month for up to 5 people in your household. I think it's $14 or something a month for one person to sign up. So it's always best for a household. If you've got even 2 people that live in the same home that like watching YouTube, if both of you sign up, then there you go. You get premium at a much better price. That way, I still get a little bit. I don't get as much from YouTube Premium as if you'd let the advertisements play, but I do get a bit from YouTube Premium. They pay some back to the creators. It doesn't all just go to YouTube. As videos get watched, a tiny percentage goes to each channel that you've been watching. And if you really want to help the channel out, you can support the channel directly through sponsoring the channel through Patreon or YouTube memberships, patreon.com/CCE, or below each video, if you're looking on a computer or a cell phone, shrink the video instead of full screen. You're going to see the little word join right beside subscribe. If you hit join, you can sign up and become a YouTube member. I give you benefits. A free draw every month. One of my supporters gets to win a knife of their choosing that I reviewed in the previous month. And you guys all get 48 hours access to knife sales before the general public does. And I know you guys like that because you buy at least 2/3 of the knives after the first day and about 3/4 by the end of the second day before the public gets any chance. So thank you so much for helping out Canadian Cutting Edge. You like the videos? Please help me out. Thank you very much. Now, let's get that commercial break over with, and then we're going to look at this knife. Keep watching. One of the first things I start with is a size comparison with the Ontario Rat 1. And there we go. Let's line up those pivot pins. We've got a knife that's almost the same size. Except for you get more cutting edge with the Kubey, of course. And I like how the Kubey feels in a hand a lot more. You've got a much more rounded shape. And you've got that just slight jimping on the G10. That helps to fill the hand. So what do we got? We've got a blade. This one, it says D2 on it. Now, there's a little bit of a problem here, a little bit of a confusion. I ordered this, and even on Kubey's website, it says that the tan G10 one has AUS 10 steel. But right here on the blade, it says D2. Now, I don't mind D2. I'm getting a little tired of D2, showing up on 3/4 of the knives I review. I don't dislike it per se, though. I don't prefer D2 with a bead blast finish, and that's what this knife has. I'd much rather it had a stonewash finish. But we've got a thumb riser with some jimping on it, which is in a perfect spot. That helps with the grip quite a lot. And then we've got a drop point with the swedge, and then basically it looks a bit like an Asian tanto. You can just barely see that line comes across here between the main bevel and the front bevel. And that transition spot there, that's going to be next to impossible to keep distinct. So when I sharpen this knife, I'm not even going to try. It's just going to be a nice smooth belly. A very slight recurve here, hardly anything at all. It's hardly measurable, but it is a bit of a recurve. The tip of the blade with the swedge coming up and the bevel like this, it's like a four-sided point, so it's fairly strong. Comes to a point, it's not super thin there, but it's not a big, thick, heavy point either. Next, we come to the sharpness choil. Is that a sharpness choil? Well, the plunge is really gradual. The plunge only terminates, let me reach across my table here. The plunge only ends right about where the middle of that screwdriver tip is. So it comes across like this. So they couldn't make it much smaller as a sharpness choil, but I really wish they might have made it just slightly bigger, removed some of this steel over here to bring it back to the G10 a little bit. They'd have to modify the flipper just a little bit, but then there would be room to grip with a finger with a forward grip, because sometimes, a forward grip really gives you extra control for cutting things. But you don't have that with this knife. We've got ball bearings in here. I'm sure they're ceramic ball bearings. I haven't taken it apart yet, but I believe that's what it said. And action is just great. A light switch method works fine. And, just pushing across a little bit works fine as well. It's just a good knife. The action's really good. We've got jimping on the lock release, and there's lots of good access to it. So like I showed you, right or left-handed, it works just fine to take that, to close the knife. Lockup is pretty much exactly where I like it to be on a brand new knife. It's fully engaged, but there's room for wear over the years. And there's no blade play side to side. And the alignment, pretty much spot on, right down the middle of the blade. Talking about the handle now, it's just a flat slab G10 chamfer all the way around the handle, everywhere you go, which is quite nice. It helps the knife to be quite comfortable in hand. The liners are inset, so there's just G10 on top. So here's the first change I would have liked to have seen on this knife. You can see the jimping back here, and the same thing on the belly side, that jimping. I wish they would have done the same thing up here. And then the thumb rest would get even more grip. It's solid right now, but I would like just a little bit more, and they could have easily done that. And I can easily still do that on the G10. You just need a file and just file a few lines into yours. I still haven't decided if this is going to be a keeper for me or if it's going to be one of those knives that'll be on the giveaway list for my Patreon and YouTube member supporters or not. So I'm not going to modify it yet. We've got spacers on the back. No spacer. We've got pins on the back. Those barrels, they're hour-shaped. looks good. We've got the lanyard hole right there. It's not in a terrible spot. I do like that the pocket clip is right at the end. So what you going to take, the lanyard hole or the pocket clip? For me, it's the pocket clip because I rarely use lanyards anyway. So we've got a deep pocket clip. There's not a lot of room this way, but there doesn't need to be because they use nice flush screws, just like the body screws are the nice big flush screws. So that's a good thing. I wouldn't mind if they were T8 instead of T6, but the T6 screws are there. They're nice and deep, so your screwdriver sinks in fully, and they're very well made. The pocket clip, let's demonstrate its function. I know, you know how to use a pocket clip, but you might want to see how well it works. The top of it is flattened, it climbs over, and it goes right to the bottom. Sometimes it doesn't work that well now that these pants are starting to get frayed right there, so let's demonstrate it over here. It goes right to the bottom every time. Sometimes it catches if your pocket clip is frayed. So all you see is that pocket clip, especially on this tan color. You know, there's not much to see in your pocket, so that's a good thing. And I like that the pocket clip also has that bead blasted finish. So it's not shiny, it's not in your face. It just sits there, and it's not just a pocket clip that you see all over the place. It's their own pocket clip. Looks good, works good, doesn't feel hot in the hand, and I like those flush screws a lot. Let's talk about how well it performed cutting. I don't show cutting tests or demonstrations on my videos. I've got a whole video explaining why. But let me tell you that I did do my cut tests on this. I did them until this knife got dull, and that's a lot of cut tests. It kept an edge very well. It cut very easily. It's not super thin behind the grind, but it's, well, I'll tell you the measurements later on. It's as thin as I like a knife to be, so that's good. And this blade shape, it's a stabby knife. It wants to penetrate, and it does a great job of that. But it's a good cutter too. That slight recurve helps to grab things and cut, but it's not a dramatic tanto that's, you know, a lot of times tantos are great for, you know, puncturing, but not so good for other things. This knife just performs very, very well. I like how well it cuts. The badging on the knife, I already told you about the D2 there. On this side, it just says Kubey up there on the flat. It's not super large. No complaints here about the badging on the knife. You've got it again on the pivot pin. It's a D pivot pin, not free spinning. And it says KB for Kubey blades, I guess. I've always wondered what the B was for, so I'm just thinking that that's probably what it is. And on this side, you've got your T8 screw, and the screws, the hardware is all very, very well done. Before I go over all the measurements and anything, let me show you what it looks like taken apart. Here it is taken apart, and the first thing I must say is I gotta admit it's not a D-shaped pivot pin, it's a free spinning pivot pin, which I quite dislike. It didn't give me any problems taking it apart, even though there is a little bit of residue of some Loctite in there. I was able to take it apart without too much trouble. I didn't have to use any other tools, just my bare hands and one screwdriver. So it came apart without any frustration. There's the stop pin right there. We've got nice skeletonizing all over the knife. That helps keep it nice and light. And here's the ceramic ball bearings, which I'm quite fond of, and the ceramic detent ball. Very simply made with good quality hardware, and it just works. It works quite well. I noticed something while I was trying to put it together. They followed a trick from Civivi knives. Maybe these things are made in the same factory that Civivi knives are made, because we get very similar screws, which I really like. They've got this cutaway section here on the pivot pin back, which I haven't turned it over to check yet, but I'm sure there's going to be. And yes, there is. There's a little step right there, but it's slightly worn. I like this idea, but it has to be thicker to work. There's just a tiny little ledge that this holds onto, and it skips over that ledge too easily. I'll put it back together and give you the measurements and stuff, and then my closing comments. So that's what it's like taking apart. Not too bad. I like absolutely everything except for that little step there. I found the same problem with the Civivi FRN knives. I haven't had that experience with any of the Civivi G10 knives. Perhaps they should do it on both sides to give it twice the chance of holding instead of just a little bit on one side of that round head. Now it's time to go over all the sizes, dimensions, all those specs. This tape measure will be on the screen when I do that. The weight of this knife, 114 grams, 4 ounces. That's, for a full-size knife like this, that's not bad at all. The sharpness from the factory, it scored 95 bests. That's quite a bit better than average. Cutting edge length, 88.6 millimeters, 3.49 inches. Blade length, tip to the G10, 92.6 millimeters, 3.65 inches. Yeah, like I said, it's a full-size knife. The blade thickness, 2.95 millimeters. That's 0.1165, so a little bit under 1/8 of an inch, but not much. The blade depth, it's widest right here at the heel of the blade, 28.4 millimeters, 1.12 inches. How thick is it behind the grind? In this main recurve section, it was 0.48 millimeters, 19/1000 of an inch, and just a little bit over right here, it was about 0.6 millimeters. Oh, what's that? I've got it on the screen how many thousandths of an inch that is. The grind angles, this forward section, 20.8. This section here, 18.5, with about 2 degrees difference between the heel and that transition point on this side. So that's an average of 19.6 degrees. This side, 20.6, 20.4, very little variability, so we'll call it 20.5 degrees. So sharpening was done quite well. The handle length, 122.1 millimeters, which is 4.81 inches. The grip area, it's almost 11 centimeters, right around 4.25 inches. So big hands can apply. The thickness of the handle, 13.2 millimeters, 0.52 of an inch. Very good. The handle depth within the grip area, it's biggest right here, and that is 25.9 millimeters, 1.02 inches. When the knife is closed, the widest point is up here at the flipper, 34.6 millimeters, 1.36 inches. I did it again. The total length of the knife, 214.7 millimeters. Inches is on the screen, and whoops, if it goes in that hole, I can't see. There we go. Pretty close to 8.5 inches. So that is a pretty good knife with pretty good specs. Like I said, White Mountain Knives has this listed. The D2 in orange is listed at $35.99. Take off 10%, makes it $32.39. Remember, coupon code CCE. The AUS 10 versions in 3 colors. Black, this tan, and OD green is $39.99. Take off 10%, makes it $35.99. KubeyKnife.com has it listed for $49 something, but it's half price right now for $24.50. That might change. I've got a link down below. It's not a referral link to Kubey Knife. I don't get anything good if you buy it from Kubey Knife, but I have to give you the best deal information, don't I? If that sale is over by the time you watch this video, yeah, it'll be 49 bucks there, and you'd be better off getting it at White Mountain Knives. What do I think of this knife? It's a useful knife. It's very stabby. I haven't used that term in well over a year, have I? That slight recurve shouldn't scare anybody. You can sharpen this knife fairly well if you use a guided sharpening system and you got inch-wide stones, no problem. The grip is comfortable in the hand. It feels good, you know, all kinds of different grips. The lockup is good. The action's good. Alignment's good. The pocket clip's good. Nice grip here. Sure, I could use a little bit extra grip for the thumb rest there. And I didn't pull that hard enough. The flipper is good. I like the jimping on the front of it right there. I didn't talk about the flipper yet, did I? The flipper's got 6 little notches in it for getting good traction to actuate that flipper. It's a good knife. Even with D2, I'm very happy with this knife. And so, yeah, no problem. Lock release, easy to get at. I mentioned that before. It's a good knife. This forward choil, I wish they would have had a quicker plunge and put in a smaller choil, or if they would have redesigned it and made it so there's room for the finger. It's not a big deal, but for those of you who look at it and say, hey, it's got a finger choil, not unless your hands are quite small. So that covers this knife. What I think of it, what I like of it. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for my Patreon supporters and my YouTube member supporters. You guys are awesome. I really do appreciate your help. And to everyone watching, remember, always cut towards your chum, not your thumb. Bye for now.